The phrase water crisis is not a new phrase, but what exactly is it, and how does it really affect us, specifically here in the United States? Oftentimes, when we hear the words or the phrase water crisis, we might think of other countries. For example, you might think of Africa, places where they don't necessarily always have access to water and oftentimes have little or no access to clean water. And this is a really big issue that we face on a global scale. Having no access to clean water leads to lots of waterborne illnesses and deaths, especially in young children. However, the water crisis looks a little bit different for us here in the United States. We know that the world has so much water. You look at a globe, and most of what you see is blue water from the ocean. However, only about 1% of the water that we have here on the earth is fresh water. And that 1% of fresh water is what we rely on for basically almost everything. That's the water that we drink, that we need to survive. It's also the water that we're using for farms, for crops, for technology. But that 1% that we have access to is depleting very quickly. And that's not just in other countries, that's happening here in the United States as well. And so this has a very direct effect on us. And narrowing it down even more, looking at the state of Utah alone, we know that we have been in an extreme drought for years. And we might look at last year's winter where we had an increase of snowfall and precipitation, and that was very beneficial. However, it didn't solve any problems. In fact, in order for the extreme drought that we're facing, we would have to have winters such as last winter for many, many more years. And because of these extreme droughts, water reservoirs are drying up all over the state. Some of them are already gone. For example, looking at Lake Powell, which is one of our biggest freshwater reserves in Utah, it hit a record low in 2021. And while once again, last year it may have increased the water levels, it still didn't solve anything. And you can look at other examples as well. Looking at the Great Salt Lake, you can see that it is drying up, and it's drying up quickly. And that will have severe impacts on the environment here in the state of Utah. But we know we're running out of water. What do we do? Because we all know that we need water literally to survive. I mean, a person can't even go a few days without drinking it. But what do we do exactly? Well, there's a lot of different ideas and there's a lot of different viewpoints on ways that people think it is beneficial to conserve water. And a lot of these include very large projects and governmental impact. One example is increasing the price of water. For example, Utah has one of the lowest cost of water or price of water in the United States. Other states, specifically Western states such as Washington and California, have higher costs of water. And people see this as beneficial because having a higher price to it often leads to less wasteful habits. Some other ideas could also be implementing different laws to hopefully decrease some of these wasteful habits, seen on an individual basis, but also within industry and within agriculture as well. However, oftentimes we might look at some of those and we might find them very overwhelming or very large or out of reach. However, there's also a lot of things that each person can do on a very personal level. And a lot of the things that we can do in order to conserve water is very, very simple. So let's talk about some of the ways that we can conserve water and some of the ways that you can do it now. And once again, a lot of these might not seem like they will have a huge impact. However, making small steps every single day, and especially when a lot of people are doing it, that can make a pretty big impact and can help decrease a lot of water overusage. And so a lot of these ways are things that you may have heard before, right? We learn about a lot of them starting in elementary school. And one of the really common things that we hear about is taking shorter showers. Specifically, hopefully taking showers that are 5 minutes or less. And taking a shower of 5 minutes or less can actually save up to 70 liters of water per shower. And assuming you're taking a shower every single day, right, that's 70 liters of water for a whole entire week. And that's just per person per shower. That's a lot of water that adds up very quickly. Some other things that are super basic are turning off our water while we're brushing our teeth or washing your hands while you're rubbing in the soap. Some other things are making sure you're turning your tap completely off, right? Making sure that the shower faucet's not dripping overnight. Some things can also be bigger. Maybe you like to take baths and you also like to garden. You can actually reuse some of your bath water for your garden, or you can go and buy a new, more water efficient shower head so you're not wasting as much water per shower. Some things can even be on even larger scales than that, such as changing the way that you landscape completely. There's a type of landscaping called xeriscaping, And xeriscaping eliminates using just regular grass and using native plants that don't require much water, because this eliminates a lot of water usage in your lawn and also helps soil to stay in place. And so some of the things that we can do are pretty big, and some of them that we can do are pretty small. But all of them, when added up, have a pretty big impact on our personal usage of water, which, as we showed earlier, is pretty important that we're making steps to save water.